All right, hi, my name is Andrew Geyer, and today we're talking about net neutrality, specifically whether or not the FCC should implement regulations that enforce net neutrality. Because it's a new issue, you might not know what it is. Net neutrality is the idea that ISPs, which are internet service providers such as Comcast or Verizon, should not discriminate between different, between customers, between the services they provide, between the websites that use their traffic, and that type of thing. Recently, a deal was made between Netflix and Comcast that would allow Netflix to have a priority speeds for Comcast, between Netflix and Comcast, that would allow Netflix to have priority speeds when people use their service. The issue with this is that violates the concept of net neutrality. In this deal, the deal was not so much by choice, it was more forced by Comcast. Comcast forced Netflix to pay them a fee by continuously slowing down the internet speeds of anyone who had Comcast and wanted to watch Netflix, and until to the point that it was unwatchable, and Netflix finally caved in earlier in April and started paying them an annual fee or whatever the deal specified in the contract they made. This does not go along with net neutrality. This does not go along with the concept that you shouldn't discriminate in this way. You shouldn't give priority to Netflix when there are plenty of other streaming services that are now slowed because Netflix has priority over them in the network as a whole. And this is especially significant. This deal was especially significant because Comcast is the largest ISP in the United States. In the past, net neutrality laws have been in place that have allowed net neutrality, that have allowed the FCC to enforce rules that keep ISPs from discriminating between customers and companies like Netflix. And these laws that have been in place, these rules that have been in place have allowed the FCC, have allowed smaller, innovative companies to grow and become what they are today. Netflix is an example of one of those companies that started small and became bigger. However, on January 14th of 2014, the U.S. Court of Appeals struck down the Open Internet Order of 2010 because of a court case between the FCC and Verizon, and this removed the legal barrier that provided the U.S. with net neutrality. The court's reasoning was that ISPs are not common carriers, and the Open Internet Order of 2010 was written to only apply to common carriers. If ISPs have been classified as common carriers, then net neutrality would still be enacted. But it was repealed, and because it has now been repealed, there's no reason for ISPs to not charge unfair things, such as this deal Netflix has made, or such as charging us as the consumer more for a service package that allows you to have a faster speed when you're watching certain sites such as Netflix. These fast lanes are not net neutrality because you're prioritizing that the larger businesses who can actually pay these fees are allowed to have a faster speed, and this hurts small businesses who do not have the money to pay for to pay these fast lanes. Giving preference to large corporations, you build up large corporations and you hurt the smaller corporations, and it makes the large corporations could come to any ISP and say, hey, we're going to pay you money, and then they go and they outcompete all the small businesses that try and create a competitive market. As such, enacting something that would allow net neutrality would stop barriers to prevent, net neutrality would prevent these barriers to innovation, such as these, would prevent barriers to innovation. The FCC, our proposal to solve this issue is that the FCC should classify ISPs as common carriers. Title II, Common Carriers under the Communications Act of 1934. A common carrier is any service which transports goods or services from one place to another. This is telephones, cell phone companies, airplanes, buses, and they all take one thing from one place to another, and they're not allowed to discriminate between the goods and services they transport or the people that that contract them to transport the material. For example, if you were to take your cell phone and you had T-Mobile and you called Pizza Hut to order pizza, T-Mobile could not go to Pizza Hut and say, hey, we're going to drop anyone who calls you unless you pay us a fee. That's illegal because of the Communications Act of 1934, which says that it is unlawful for any common carrier to make any unjust or unreasonable discriminations in charges, practices, classifications, regulations, facilities, and it goes on and says that anything that's classified as a common carrier is not allowed to discriminate between its customers and its products. Classifying ISPs as common carriers would stop them from giving these harmful advantages, and it would ensure that we have an open internet that anyone can use, and you don't come up with this barrier. If you're a small business, you don't have to pay extra fees if you're a consumer to have open internet access for everybody. Thank you. That's all.